I'm Johnny Rowland, your host of the Shooting Show, and I tell you what, friends, what you're looking at here is certainly a grand thing for our program, and we appreciate the good folks there and our good friend Bob Server with Dan Wesson in making the first production 460 Rowland revolver. We really appreciate that. You know, this round started off and still is primarily for the semi-automatics, but it has so many applications. And of course, this great Dan Wesson is going to be a very fine gun that you can compete in IDPA shooting, a whole lot of different things, as well as actually go hunting with it. It will also be a superior home defense revolver because the full moon clips allow you to shoot regular 45 ACP ammunition in our 460 gun, as well as the 45 auto rim. You can shoot that in it. So you actually have a multi-cartridge gun. And of course our Smith & Wesson 625 with conversion does the same thing. But we appreciate, one, having a factory chamber for our cartridge. And I don't look for production figures on this to be real high, certainly, but it gives us a little boost there. It gives us a little, excuse me, a little extra shot there of credibility with a lot of the people in the gun industry. So whatever that's worth, it's certainly worth a lot to us, and we are really excited about this. And I tell you what, friends, I look for our Kimbers, our Kimber 1911s to be our #1 sellers, of course, and we hope these guns will go on sale by around the end of this month. We plan to be showing these guns at the SHOT Show in Atlanta. And I tell you what, friends, every gun that we can sell, we're going to take that money and we're going to try and, if we go off the air, we're going to try and get back on the air because we're not going to quit. We absolutely are not going to quit. The SHOT Show, of course, is going to be in Atlanta. And, you know, we were talking about this. My good friend Bill Lewis and some other folks I've been kicking this around with the last few days. Bill suggested that since the SHOT Show, Shooting, Hunting, Outdoor Trade Show, is not open to the public, and by the way, tickets for the SHOT Show for FFL holders and people that have an interest there are $30 a piece. Now, that's a lot of money, friends. I tell you, $30 a shot is, to me, that's pretty serious money, but they get it. Thankfully, we're press, and we'll be in the Clark Custom Guns booth. It won't cost us and the folks who are going to help us down there any money, but that's a lot of money. Why not? Think about this now. And you go in the SHOT Show, and I'm kind of beating around the bush here, but it's important. You go in the SHOT Show, and you have a lot of manufacturers, folks from all over the world in their three-piece suits, and I don't mind telling you, a lot of them kind of look down their nose at you. Thought here. Might not that be what is wrong with some of the shooting organizations and the mess we're in as gun owners and as gun enthusiasts and free Americans? We have a lot of people who have been elitists, who have looked down their nose at you and me. Think about that. I think that's part of the problem. Why not have a trade show where regular people could come in and see the new guns and the new camping equipment and the new camouflage stuff and the new loading equipment? Now wouldn't that be great if there was a shooting, hunting, outdoor trade show where the regular people, you and I mean just regular civilian types there, who could come in and look at all these products, because the SHOT Show is a great show. You see stuff literally from all over the world, and why wouldn't that be a good idea? So we may pursue that. Heck, and you know, those booths at the SHOT Show cost thousands and thousands of dollars. The NSSF, the National Shooting Sports Foundation, they're the people that put the SHOT Show on, and they get real money for those booths in there, and it's a huge source of revenue. Well, as most of you know, we've talked about, in Atlanta, Georgia, the mayor in Atlanta has joined the lawsuit against the gun companies. Now, simple thing, friends, if they're successful, if these large cities are successful in their lawsuit against the gun companies, you know what? It's going to put them out of business. The gun companies are nothing in comparison to the tobacco companies. And that, you know, that we said this a while back, that the anti-tobacco Nazis were going to try the same tactics. And Janet Reno herself, with prompting from none other than Bill Clinton, who, as we're taping this, is still in the White House. We anticipate he's not going to leave, certainly not without a whole lot of encouragement. Probably people actually have to come and take him away and put him in chains and get him out of there. But Janet Reno encouraged harassment lawsuits against the gun companies. Now, wait a minute, friends. This is the Justice Department of the United States that is completely ignoring the Constitution of the United States. Remember, it's not the Bill of Suggestions, it's the Bill of Rights. Our government did not give us the right to keep and bear arms. The Second Amendment affirms the right that was in place long before our country ever even called itself the United States of America. The right to personal defense is a gift from God. It is not given to us by government, and that's where they're off base, friends. And you know, the mayor in Atlanta has really talked about shooting yourself in the foot. The NSSF, I called them and told them the other day, I said, look guys, if you cancel the show in Atlanta and move it to a cow pasture in East Alabama or somewhere else in Georgia, I don't care, because Georgia is a great state. We've got a tremendous number of great viewers in Georgia. It has nothing to do with the state of Georgia. Kind of like here in Louisiana, we have New Orleans that filed a lawsuit, but New Orleans doesn't count where the rest of the state's concerned. But if they move it to a cow pasture, I don't think anyone would complain. If it starts raining, we'll get out the umbrellas, because according to the NSSF figures, the SHOT Show will have a total generated revenue for one show of, get this, $50 million. That's a lot of money. I mean, we're talking real money. $50 million. And the mayor of Atlanta has come out against us, not only against the gun companies. He's against us as gun owners. He's against us as free Americans. Now, I don't know what the mayor's name is. His name is Campbell, I think. Mayor Campbell. So I hope that Mayor Campbell is real happy about this. But you know, they've just knocked any more SHOT shows in Atlanta. They've knocked that in the head. They were going to have 3 more in the next few years in Atlanta, and not now, because I don't think anybody would go back after this. So you see, friends, this is what we as gun owners and shooters are up against. You know what? Here, we have something here in Louisiana called Mardi Gras, and it's all up and down the Gulf Coast, and where you have people that pay thousands and thousands of dollars so they can dress up funny and ride in floats. It's unreal. It's unreal. They pay huge dollars. But you know, we are Gun TV, and for what one of those floats cost, you know, our show could be on for a year for what one of those floats cost. And that's nothing but fun, and people get drunk and act silly. And that's more important to a lot of people than some of the most essential rights that we have in this country. Is it any wonder that Bill Clinton's in the White House? But you know what? Our reason for being on the air, we keep hoping and betting that there are enough people out there. We know there are a lot of really fine people here in the United States. We know there are a lot of us left. If we can spread enough truth, enough of it will take hold, and it'll spread. It'll spread to other states. It'll spread to other people who maybe haven't thought much about guns. Because, friends, let me tell you what, just like the No Rifle Association, I'm sorry, the National Rifle Association, some of you have not understood why I've been so tough on them until you've seen more evidence in black and white. I had a call from a good friend the other day, and the NRA came out against a very fine representative over in Alabama, and just because they were stupid. I mean, because they're not shooters, they don't understand what this is about, they don't get the point, because they're not really gun owners, not really shooters, they're just lobbyists, they're just doing a job, and they don't really understand what this is about in so many cases. Of course, there's some good people in NRA, but in the leadership in the higher echelons, it's not there, friends. And now they've gotten the situation to a point where it's going to be very difficult for the membership to change it because they've got a regime. Okay, I can't change that. But what we can do, we can reach more people on television. We have to, friends. We're not going to quit. I don't know if we can stay on. Right now, we're on today. Right now, we don't have the money to be on next week. But we're so hopeful that we can sell guns and sell our ammunition. And yes, Georgia Arms is going to be loading our 460 Rowland ammunition. And hey, it's fitting that the best ammunition company in the United States is going to be loading the best new cartridge in the United States. Certainly there are other good cartridges, but ours does some things that nothing else in its class or like it does. So we're extremely pleased about that. And yes, hopefully in just a few short weeks, we'll have loaded ammunition. So if you want to buy one of our 460s, you'll have shells to shoot in it. So anyway, friends, we are indeed very, very proud to be here today. And if you can join our GRA, it's $50 a year, because that $50 does something. It helps keep us on the air. And if we can gain some momentum for our Gun Owner Rights Association, well, we're going to be able to do a lot of things. We're going to be able to do a lot of good. And our budget is big to us, but in the general scheme of things, it's not very large. And, you know, our donations have been pretty much down. Christmas tough on everybody, buying gifts and trying to do things. But if you can send us a donation to help us stay on the air, if you can join our Gun Owner Rights Association, if you can, life memberships are $300, because I think that's enough, because if we don't change things and what's happening to us as gun owners and shooters in a very short time, we're not going to have guns left in our country. In fact, we probably won't even be. We'll be seeing this new States of America Constitution come into place if we don't get some things done. It's got to be, friends. Please, please do whatever you can. If you can help us stay on the air, you can send to the shooting show, 327 Irvin Rowland Road in Dubberly, Louisiana. The zip code is 71024. Please, friends, if you can, help us. And, you know, we've done this for so long, week to week, and unfortunately we still have to. But once we can, if we can get our gun sales happening, we've talked to one of the gun magazines has promised us sometime in the next few months to put our Kimber on the cover of their magazine with our new cartridge, and that's going to help us sell guns. There are some other magazines that are interested in writing about this, and we certainly appreciate any coverage we can get, because if we can sell a few guns, it'll help us stay on the air. That's what this is all about. So please, friends, help us if you can. We have a great show for you today. We're going to go back in time again. We have a piece that I wanted to get on last week from our good friend Bruce Warren with BC Armory. We're going to try and get that on today, and the judge hopefully will be here in a little while. And again, thank you so much for being with us here today. Let's open the program with shooting our 460 Roland Kimber at that water bottle out at 200 yards. And let's start off another shooting show with that today. Now, I'll tell you what, that's 200 yards, and yeah, it takes a little practice to get to the point you can hit those targets out there, but yes, it can be done. And our new cartridge, actually, I don't know if we recommend everybody can hunt deer with them at 200 yards, but the thing is, it's such an all-around great choice for doing so many things. Our 460 Roland is a new concept, and again, friends, this will help us all if we can make this a success.
Stay tuned for more of the Shootin' Show after these important messages.
The Shootin' Show will be right back after this break for your local cable company or TV station.
Friends, here it is. This is the great Georgia Arms 45 DA Colt or double action Colt cartridge. This is the first major improvement on the Colt 45 since 1873. They have this in loaded cowboy ammunition. They're also selling brass, so you can load your own combinations. This cartridge case is absolutely a joy to work with. We're even seeing improved accuracy, we think due to the slightly larger rim on our 45 DA Colt case. You can get a free catalog, or you can order these from Georgia Arms, 1-800-624-6861 for their entire lineup, and please tell them you saw it here on our show. Now friends, of course, the cowboy load is mild but super accurate. And of course, you can take your hand loads up to the limit of what the loading manuals will allow. The great 45 double action Colt cartridge from Georgia Arms. Give them a call today, friends. A free phone call with a free catalog.
And realize, of course, that Georgia Arms has the best overall lineup of handgun and rifle ammunition available in the United States, and for that matter, anywhere else. And we are so pleased that they're going to be loading our 460 Rowland cartridge. And I tell you, it's great, friends, when you have the best people in the business loading one of the great new cartridges. So anyway, give them a call today. Get a free catalog with a free phone call, 1-800-624-6861. And please remember and tell them you saw it on our show. And now, friends, we're going to go back in time slightly. We had run this some time ago. This is on the Topper Wines, and here's how exhibition shooting used to be done. It also signifies how shooting in general as a sport used to be thought of in the community before the liberal socialists got control. This features Ad and Plinky Topper Wine, two of the great masters. Of course, they're going to do some things today we would never do, one without wearing eye protection or even hearing protection for that matter. But friends, here's how they used to do it.
World-renowned as a shooting team for nearly 40 years, Mr. and Mrs. Adolph Topperwine present for your pleasure and entertainment this exhibition of fancy shooting on the beautiful grounds of one of the finest shooting clubs anywhere. Mr. Topperwine, better known as Ad to his half-century following of shooting enthusiasts, makes his own introduction.
Ladies and gentlemen, the object of this exhibition this afternoon is to show you the wonderful accuracy of Winchester guns and Winchester and Western factory-loaded ammunition. In doing this shooting, we use a standard Winchester gun of different calibers and different models, and standard Winchester and Western factory-loaded ammunition, the same kind of ammunition that you can buy in any country store. So there's nothing special about the guns, and there's nothing special about the ammunition. I also wish to understand that there's nothing very special or very wonderful about this kind of shooting. We're not out here trying to show you something what someone else can do just as well. And I'm sure there's a good many among you who can do the same kind of shooting that we're doing with the same amount of practice and attention that we've paid to it. You don't have to be a freak to be a marksman, remember that. Success if you're shooting depends entirely how much and how often you shoot and how often you practice. That's all there's to it. I want to introduce to you this time Mrs. Topperwine, my first wife, who will show you different shots with a rifle, pistol, and shotgun. Mrs. Topperwine is one of those happy characters that can shoot equally well with rifle, pistol, or shotgun. Our first shooting will be with a revolver. Here she goes.
Mrs. Topperwine, better known as Plinky, uses a standard .38 special revolver for all her handgun shooting. That was easy. So, to make it a bit harder, she turns the gun sideways. And then to make it still more interesting, the gun is held inverted. Plinky uses Western .38 special mid-range target cartridges. For as she says, only the best is good enough for this kind of shooting. Does she ever miss? Well, Top says she always misses his fingers. Clay targets seem large, so Top, as we like to call Ad sometimes, draws a neat red heart on a piece of paper, and Plinky puts one bullet after the other into it. If you watch closely, you'll see the 5th bullet cut into the top right edge of the hole made by the first 3 shots. Yes, things are getting tougher. These wooden discs are considerably smaller than the previous targets, but Plinky takes them in her stride. There are times, however, when Ad, confident in her ability, puts her on the spot. This seems to be one of those times. Let's listen in on this.
No, Daddy, don't do that.
Oh, that's all right. Go ahead, but don't you miss it.
Close your eyes and hold it steady.
Now, Top always sneaks in a few new shots somewhere during the shoot. This seems to be one of them, and he asks Plinky to load 2 guns. Not knowing what comes next, she looks a bit puzzled. As a youngster, Ad worked in a crockery shop. Perhaps this is where he learned to enjoy the sound of shattering dishes. Anyway, he places 2 plates sticking up from the ground. Yes, he wants her to shoot both of them at one time. As she aimed both barrels, it sounded like she said, "This is what I call a cockeyed shot." Western story addicts have often been thrilled as the hero punctured the ace of spades dead center with his trusty 6-gun. But Plinky has her own ideas about hitting cards. And after assuring and reassuring Top, she takes position, aims, and cuts this card in 2, edgewise. Now, while Plinky rests a bit, Top warms up on a few easy targets. Just regular shooting has no place in the Topperwines exhibition, so he aims to break a few easy targets the hard way. Ah, so you see how it's done? With mirrors. Simple. But after trying a few shots like this, I'm sure it'd be an aspirin and not more targets that you'd want. In no place can we find records indicating Top ever taught school, but he seems to have eyes in the back of his head when he makes this shot. Practice, that's all it takes, Top says. Only about 50 years of it, I'd say. And he really hits what he thinks he's aiming at. It gets monotonous shooting at the same things all the time, so Top provides a variety of targets. As an added attraction, when ladies are in the audience, he also has a few household hints to offer as the shooting progresses. The first thing in preparing dinner is to make a fire, and Top prefers to chop his kindling with his trusty shooting iron. French fries are ready for the pan in a hurry when you have a few .38 cartridges, a gun, and some potatoes ready. Large or small, the bullets seem always to find the targets when Top points his gun. Hitting them is easy. It's how fast can you shoot them. 2 cans in the air at one time looks to be the limit, but not for Top. Here goes 3, and they won't hold water or oil anymore. This usually ends Top's pistol shooting, but he feels good today. says he hasn't tried these shots for a long time. Don't blame him if he misses. I would never try them myself. Remember the 2 plates Plinky shattered a while ago? Well, Top goes in for some cockeyed shooting, too. Only when you examine the cans, they prove there's nothing cockeyed about his aiming. Top was born in San Antonio, Texas, so fast belt gun handling is second nature for him. Hip shooting is one thing, but Top thinks it's too easy, so he varies the technique with this position. Boy, this must be fun. And Plinky gets a call for more cartridges. As long as the ammunition holds out, Top finds something to do with it.
He's just playing now.
This pile of cans is an irresistible target for rapid fire, and incidentally makes a fine display. Ed discovered Plinky, his first wife as he calls her, in 1903, working in the Winchester factory. She had never fired a gun prior to her marriage, but under Ed's guidance soon became one half of the famous Topper Wine shooting team. She likes this Winchester Model 61 hammerless slide action repeater because, as she says, it's a real man's gun for a lady. How well she likes it is demonstrated by the way she shoots it. Like taking candy from a baby, she says.
Now, we thought you'd enjoy seeing this tape again. We actually got that video set from Colonel Rex Applegate. Was a great friend to us and one of the most interesting people you'd meet, and we lost him this past year. He passed away this past year, in fact. Of course, we're seeing the Top Wines doing a lot of things we would never do today. Some I would certainly never do, but we have some safety tips coming up that maybe they should have been aware of, but we did think you'd enjoy this.
Now, friends, you know Christmas is coming up, and I have here a little Crossman pellet gun, and a lot of you may be contemplating buying a pellet gun for your youngsters, and certainly they're great practice for adults too. If you don't have a place you can go out shooting, you shoot these in your basement with a proper pellet trap, but it is a wonderful instructional device to use in showing young people and those new shooters just what the principle is of proper shooting. Let me tell you what, these are not toys. They're tools. They're just not as powerful as a 22 or something like that, but they have more power, I think, than we sometimes realize. We've got our potato here. Let's shoot our potato with a pellet and just see what happens. Now, friends, I tell you what, it went in one side here and blew out a piece of the back. You might consider this could be someone's eye or a pet. These are not to be taken lightly, because every time children or anybody else shoots a gun that is not in a self-defense situation where you don't have time to get eye protection, hearing protection, but always these youngsters should be sent out with proper eye protection. This is so important. All the rules that we follow with a standard firearm should also be followed with the pellet guns, with the exception of hearing protection, because you just don't have any noise. So this is something that we cannot overlook. You know, our future as shooters depends on our own responsibility. This is so important. I personally prefer pellet guns because the lead pellet will not ricochet nearly as likely as the steel BBs. Eye protection is even more important. It's as important as can be with the pellet guns, but with a BB gun, it becomes an absolute essential, because those steel BBs can bounce off something at a pretty good velocity and come back and hurt someone in near proximity. So just something we do want to remind you about. Christmas coming up. Let's have some safe shooting.
Stay tuned for more of the Shootin' Show after these important messages.
The Shootin' Show will be right back after this break for your local cable company or TV station.
And we want to mention the good folks at Clark Custom Guns in Princeton, Louisiana, one of the most complete gun shops in the entire United States. They do all sorts of things like this specialty meltdown on this new STI gun. Also, they have an excellent staff of people to help you with guns such as these Benelli Super Black Eagles, taking 3.5-inch magnums, a complete line of handguns, semi-automatics, revolvers, all sorts of neat things in the shop there. And of course, here's Mr. Jim Clark himself out helping a customer, some of the nicest people you'd ever want to meet. They have a complete line of loading supplies, loading tools, gunpowder, you name it, primers, all sorts of accessories for your guns, whatever you might need, certainly within reason. Here's Kay Clark Michelik when she's not winning championships, back working there in the office. And here's her husband, Jerry Michelik, the fastest revolver shooter in the world, when he's not winning championships at work. Here's Jim Clark Jr. back on the lathe, the same drill, when he's not winning championships, working right there in the shop. That's why you can get such complete quality of product and expertise here at Clark Custom Guns. Friends, give them a call today, area 318-949-9884. They have a great catalog. We appreciate them supporting our project. And speaking of support group in our project here, friends, this is Bruce Warren of BC Armory. Bruce really builds some great race guns. That's what he's shooting now, and he's going to show us some tips and some of the methods used in customizing handguns.
This is my Para Ordnance alloy frame 45 that I use for shooting steel. Steel targets out to the American handgunners shoot off in Colorado. Steel shoots around Michigan, Indiana area. What I did was I do not use the rip panels that come with the gun. What I do now is I take the rip panels right off and then I checker the rip frame. It narrows the rip considerably. You see, I've checkered the entire frame, front strap and both sides. And being that this is an alloy frame, I couldn't re-blue it when I was done. So what I did is I painted it. Some of the race guns that I've seen at the big matches are painted. And so what I did is I painted this special paint that changes color as you tip it into the light, from blue to purple to who knows what. Good afternoon. Once again, this is Bruce Warren. I'm from the BC Armory, and we're located in southern Lower Michigan in East Leroy. It's a suburb of Battle Creek. Today we're going to go through a couple of things that I'm going to do to a weapon to further customize it. This particular gun belongs to my cameraman and shooting partner, Bill Palmer. He had it built about 5 years ago, and it's worked out real well up until now. He's decided to add a few more custom touches to it, and then possibly sell it later this summer, depending on how his year is. So what I'd like to do is show you the gun and some of the changes we're going to make to it. One of the major changes we're going to make is we're going to cut out this portion of the grip frame right here. What we're going to do, we're going to raise that up so that the hand will slide up further onto the weapon itself. Let me show you an example. This weapon right here. Notice how this is cut out so much higher. Hey, you can see now that we have everything out of the gun itself. The only thing left is the grip screw bushings, and we'll take those out later on. And as you can see, all the parts are out. What we're going to do now is we're going to look these parts over, see if there's any worn, cracked, or broken stuff. And we're going to clean it up a little bit. We don't want to have to be too dirty while we're working on these things. So, and the cleaner they are, the better you can look them over. So we'll take a little break here and be back in a minute. This way I found to clean these is using brake cleaner. It's about the best thing I've found so far. It strips oil, grease, everything right off right now, and it dries within a few seconds, so everything's left clean and dry for you to work on. Okay, what I think we're going to do first is we're going to put this in the milling machine, and we're going to mill this portion of the grip frame out right here. And we're going to raise this up, put more of a curve on here, so that the hand will slide up further into the gun, putting the gun lower in your hand, allowing your recoil to come back straight rather than flip up. Okay, here you can see I'm just about ready to start my first cut. I want to take this real slow and real easy, because these frames are hard, hard, hard. Here you can see I've got everything just about set up. I've got a little bit of material removed right now, so we're going to go ahead and keep on cutting and see what happens. Okay, right here you can see the material that I removed, and I may end up taking off just a little bit more. It depends on what happens when I start extending these serrations up into this area. I may overrun a little bit, so I may want to put that back in the mill and clean that off just a little bit more. But you can see that although I didn't remove a lot of material, how much better the hand is going to fit on that weapon. Okay, now that we have this part done, what we're going to do is we're going to start working on these serrations. Now, as you can see, they go vertically up the grip, and I cannot for the life of me figure out how that's supposed to help you maintain control of the weapon. If Colt goes to the trouble to put these on there, why don't they put them on horizontally? At least then maybe they might do some good. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to do some checkering using these existing striations. First thing you have to do is you have to determine how many lines of these there are per inch. And if you whip out your handy dandy little thread gauge, it'll tell you. Now this is 20 lines per inch thread gauge, and that appears to be pretty close to what it is, 20 lines per inch. So we're going to take our 20 line per inch checkering file, and we're going to extend these striations up here, extend them over to the sides, and then we're going to work them horizontally. Normally, there's not enough material to go deep enough to get good sharp checkering at 20 lines per inch. The fewer the lines, the deeper you have to go to top the diamonds. Normally, most checkers will do 30 or 40 lines per inch, so you don't have to go so deep. But because we're limited to the 20 already, we're going to try it and see what happens. Okay, here you can see I have my checkering file. This is 20 lines per inch. And if you notice, I have one side coated with chalk and the other side painted black. There's a reason for that. The reason we put the chalk on here is to help keep the chips from sticking to the file, which would tend to gouge up and ruin a good checkering. And number two, the reason we have this side painted black is we want to make sure we use the same side once we start our checkering. These files are real high quality, and not to say there's anything wrong with them, but it doesn't take very much of a difference between sides to screw up your checkering. So we're going to use one side and one side only, doing both the horizontal, or the vertical and the horizontal. We use just one side. And also, that keeps one side always sharp. If this side ever dulls out, say in the middle of a job, I'll always have a sharp side left over, rather than wear out both sides at the same time. Okay, as you can see, I've extended the serrations up into the middle area on about a half of these threads. I'm working on the other half now. I don't think I'm going to go any further side to side. I'm going to leave the width I've got. As soon as I extend all these up and get them even and uniform, then I'm going to start my horizontal cuts. Okay, as you can see, I've got my vertical serrations pretty much done. Now I want to start doing some horizontal. What I've done is I've placed a straight edge across here, so then I can start my file square to make sure that the diamonds are going to be nice and square. All I have to do is start it down here, and then I'll pick up my lines as I move up the rib. All I need is this guide to start me. Then I'll remove that and do the rest by hand. Hopefully you can see that I've got my first set of lines across this way. And you can see the diamonds start to appear. Hopefully, when we get done, it's going to look pretty nice, and it's definitely going to be functional. It is really rough, which is what you want. Okay, as you can see, I've got all my horizontal lines cut, and now it's just a matter of rolling them over and including all this vertical, but try not to overrun on them.
Now, friends, you can tell that Bruce Warren is certainly a very careful craftsman, and we appreciate Bruce going to all the trouble to make this tape for us. There's more, but we've run out of time for today. For information on Bruce's guns and the work he does, give him a call at BC Armory, area 616-729-5508.
Stay tuned for more of the Shootin' Show after these important messages.
The Shootin' Show will be right back after this break for your local cable company or TV station.
Friends, you're looking at the finest semi-automatic pistols made in the United States. You're looking at the great Kimbers. Whether you find them in your local gun shop or order them from us, you ought to try and get one as soon as you could, because this is the best there is. You can't afford to go with less than the very best.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we hope you're enjoying our program. You'll recognize this fine gentleman sitting here beside me, none other than Leroy Scott himself. Judge, how you doing?
Pretty good, Johnny. I'm feeling better.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. You've had kind of a tough go here the past couple of months.
Well, not as tough as a lot of people have had, but I hadn't felt too hot.
Well, you certainly look like you go get your hair cut today.
No.
Well, I tell you, we're looking very forward to seeing a number of our viewers and certainly some friends at the SHOT Show. And Judge, this Dan Weston's slick, isn't he?
The Dan Weston's a darn fine gun.
Well, we really appreciate them chambering the first factory model chambered for our new cartridge. And yes, these guns are going to be available through our program. Let me mention something before I forget. Thanks to some of our viewing audience, we can make copies of shows now, and we want to make that available. If you would like to have a copy of a particular program, you need to get the number of the show if at all possible, give us the date. But we can make copies of shows now, and they're going to cost $19.95 plus $3 shipping and handling, because that's what it costs to mail it. So figure just $22.95 for a copy of the program, and certainly we're so appreciative to the folks that helped us out on that. And Judge,
Well, you're going to get them copied, Johnny.
well, we have a machine now. We
got a
can
machine?
our viewers have gotten involved here. We have copy machines now. We can make copies. Sorry, I didn't fill you in on that, but just came in recently. So again, that's something that we can offer, and we're so appreciative on that. We're talking about the SHOT Show in Atlanta, and Judge, you weren't here when I started the program, but I think it would be a good idea if we had an industry show like the SHOT Show that not just FFL holders could attend, but everyone, the public, could attend. Don't you think that'd be a good idea?
Well, Johnny, it'd be a good idea, but the trouble is that that if the public could attend, it probably would decrease the number of FFL holders that would show up. They're there for business.
Well, that's true, Judge, but you know, there's so much stuff out there. And of course, the SHOT Show, the folks who put on the SHOT Show are somewhat elitist in their attitudes, and I'd like to see more just regular people there myself, and so we won't separate.
Well, I would too, Johnny, but and of course that's what I do. I'm there.
That's true. Well, we're there to report and see for our viewing audience. And, of course, this year we're going to be there. And I would notice I hadn't held up our camera today because it's out at Clark's. They're wanting to show it to some folks and the new cartridge. And we want to say we appreciate Clark Custom Guns because, of course, they're doing the custom work on the guns for us. And Jim Clark is... in fact, he's one of the best salespeople we got. My goodness, he's so excited about the new cartridge. But comment, sir?
No comment.
He's a good man to have on our side, isn't he?
Oh yeah. Of course, I've known Jim since I don't know how long. I really don't know. I knew him. I examined the title for him to his place. It was down at Keithville, and I examined the title to the place over before that. I must have known Jim for at least 40 years.
Well, sometime. You and he know each other pretty well. Well, we really appreciate Clark Custom Guns working with us. We also appreciate the good folks in the Kimber Custom Shop because this is something we really hope. And the reason I'm excited about this, as I am, friends, because we've got a little light in the tunnel here. If we can sell these guns, that means we get to stay on the air or we get back on the air. Right now, we don't have the money to be on next week, and we will ask you again if you can help us stay on, because that's one of the ways that we're going to be able to protect our cartridge, because trust me, there are going to be people out there try and steal it, try and take the idea, and it's going to happen. Our best defense is stay on the air so we can tell everybody. But even if we can't stay on television, we'll still be on the radio. That doesn't cost us, but if you can help us stay on, we think that will be a huge benefit to us all if we can stay on the air. And so if you can help us, if you can sit down and write a check to the Shooting Show, 327 Irvin Rowland Road in Doverly, Louisiana. The zip code is 71024. Please, friends, if you can help us, because this is the only place on television that you can get our message about shooting and showing how these guns are not evil instruments, they're just machines. And I tell you what, we had a tragedy in In fact, yesterday, a day before, we had a fireman who was a nice fellow, everybody thought, but he'd been stalking his ex-girlfriend, and he killed her, and he killed his daughter. And you know, the only thing that woman could have done, because she'd already called the police, and they had a restraining order on him, Judge, the only thing that she could have, that would have saved her life, is if she would have been properly armed and she could have defended herself. Don't you agree?
Yeah, and she wouldn't even have needed a cannon like this.
That's true. Just a .38 special revolver, and she'd be alive today, and probably that little girl too. So, friends, the police cannot protect you or me or any of us.
Furthermore, Johnny, they don't even have a duty to do so.
They don't even have duty. In fact, some lawsuits have been filed against the police.
That's correct.
Friends, did you know that the police do not have a responsibility to protect you? So, Judge, if they can't protect us, who does that leave?
That leaves John Henry.
That means us.
That's right.
And you know, friends, we're trying so hard to keep our message going out. It has to be done. Right now, we're losing this fight. And I've only said this dozens of times, and I'm going to keep on saying it.
But it's everything you predicted, Johnny, has come true.
Well, just like the anti-tobacco Nazis, and now we're seeing it as the anti-gun Nazis, because that's what they are. People who would disarm us have got to be in a Nazi-type, socialist, fascist, communist mentality. They have to, friends. You know, I was talking last week, Judge, you know, we had a vice president, remember, Wallace, under Roosevelt, for 4 years. He was a Soviet agent. In this new book that's come out recently, written by a former KGB officer and an American writer, and it was Henry Wallace is who it was. He ran for president on the Progressive Party in 1948. We were a heartbeat away from having a Soviet agent as president.
Johnny, I remember the day that Roosevelt died, and the girl I was going with at the time, I was at MIT, and was dating a girl at Wellesley College, and I made the comment. I said, well, at least Henry Wallace is not the vice president.
Well, you called it right, Judge. You were just a kid then, but you called it right.
Well, I know I called it right.
Friends, we've been that close to losing our country, losing everything. And that's where we are right now. If you can, please sit down and write a check for the shooting show, friends, if you can. Because you know what? Once we get these gun sales underway, we'll have more money for the project. And that way we can buy more TV time. We can reach more people. It's got to be done.
Johnny,
yes, sir.
I hope you sell 10,000 guns.
Well, heck, Judge, if we sell 1,000, you know, that would be more than it costs for a year for us to be on there. We won't sell 1,000 at once, but hopefully we'll sell a few every week. And that will offset our cost for doing the program. Because, friends, certainly to me personally, it is very expensive doing this. And that's why we're so hopeful about this new cartridge. It looks good so far, huh, Judge?
Yeah, from what I hear and what you tell me, Johnny.
From the responses, yes, from the responses we're getting. But that's no money, not yet. And it'll be later this year before that starts to happen. So, friends, if you can, and don't worry, if we go off the air, we're going to try and get back on.
Well, Johnny's going to be, you're going to be taking orders.
Yes.
At the SHOT Show, I hope.
Yes, we will be taking orders. And Georgia Arms is going to have loaded ammunition immediately.
All right, now that's, but what guns are going to be available?
The ones we're going to have available are the Kimbers and 460, okay, the Ruger Blackhawks, the Smith & Wesson 625s, and soon we're going to have the Dan Wessons through us available. And hopefully, now this is the plan. I talked to them today. We're going to have the rifle on display at the SHOT Show. We're going to have an AR-15 upper, and we have a bunch of 30-round magazines that will work for this. It's going to be an AR-15 type gun, and if you've got an AR-15, all you have to do is get the upper. And you know, I don't even think they have to go through an FFL to get that upper for the rifle.
Well, now, Johnny, that's 5 different manufacturers you're talking
right
about. How many of those manufacturers have you got a deal with to handle the stuff? exclusively?
Well, certainly at this point, the Kimber guns are only going to come through us. We will buy Rugers, we'll buy Smith & Wessons. Now, the Dan Wesson is the only factory, and of course the rifle manufacturer, which we'll be talking about soon, they're going to be the only factories that chamber, so that gives us a little break. I'd just soon not see another factory chamber for it. Our friend Bob Server, certainly he's trying to help us. But we want to rechamber those 625 Smith & Wessons, those Ruger Blackhawks. If you've got a 45 ACP cylinder for your Blackhawk, see, we can rechamber that. And right now we can do the conversion kit. It looks like the conversion kit on someone's 1911 is going to cost retail $329, and that gets the work done on the slide. It gets the Douglas match grade premium barrel. It gets the whole package there, so you can go back and forth between your 45 and our new 460. So I think that's a fair price. And see, every dollar we make on this is going toward this project.
And now, friends, we want to recognize our support group. We have Steadcraft Custom Machine Shop in Torrington, Connecticut. We have Dennis Crocker, a firearms trainer in South Carolina. We have Custom Leatherwork and Saddlery in Denham Springs, Louisiana. We have Camouflage Technologies, the folks that paint those gun stocks. We have Flying Horse Galleries for great artwork on the web. And we also have Little River Trading Company in Cadiz, Kentucky. Friends, we're almost out of time. Remember our radio show on the American Freedom Network, our gospel show on Sunday morning, G6 Channel 7 now. And we'll look forward to seeing you on